Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. As Mike's Talks and Thoughts here, back again with another video for you guys, and today we are back with the TV series reviews here, and today we have The Office. Now I put up a poll on my community tab here. I had you guys vote, and looking here we can see that The Office was able to take the win here over Parks and Recreation. But moving forward with these, I'm going to be trying to do these, like I said, with my reviews, so you guys have some say in what I do. And also, just because Parks and Rec lost doesn't mean it can't get nominated again, or I could pick it for myself, because there's going to be some reviews that I will surprise you guys, where I won't do a poll and I will come out with one, kind of to keep you guys on the edge of your seat. You know, you guys can interact and participate, but I also want it to be surprising as well when I drop one that you guys aren't expecting. So Parks and Rec will definitely be getting one sometime in the future, but today we have The Office here, one of my favorite comedies of all time. For anyone who's new here, this is going to be, you know, a TV series review talking about things about the series and what I like, dislike, and kind of my overall thoughts on it. I'm going to be giving a spoiler warning, so if you haven't seen it, I'm going to go into a synopsis. And if you haven't seen The Office, I will make a timestamp. You can skip there and see if you would like to watch it and get into it. I'm also going to be doing a ranking, of course, giving it a tier list ranking. I have 6 different tiers: GOAT tier, elite, great, good, okay, and bad. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into The Office series review here. So The Office was a series that ran from 2005 until 2013. It had 201 total episodes, and the show was created by Greg Daniels here. So The Office here is one of the most celebrated shows of all time, and for great reason. There's a lot of great episodes and a lot of great comedy in this show. A lot of funny moments, a lot of great moments. And, you know, it's a mockumentary here, so, you know, it is a sitcom, but it follows the no laugh track. And that was something that was really not seen a lot back in the day, and The Office was kind of the show that kind of made that into what it is. You know, shows like Parks and Rec and Modern Family follow that similar format, but they don't come around until later, and The Office really rejuvenates and kind of starts that trend here of the mockumentaries. Another thing that I absolutely just love about The Office here is that the show has it developed with its episodes where you can watch it and it can be a full-on story here, where, you know, all the episodes are connected and have a linear story and a purpose, while they also have the ability to be one-off episodes where you can just watch one and have a good time with it. I think that I just love that about The Office, because in comedies, I do love when they are able to have an overarching story here, and The Office does that really well. You know, stuff that's brought up in earlier seasons gets brought up back in later seasons. They have recurring themes and storylines and running gags, and it's definitely something that, you know, when you binge watch it all the way through, you can definitely notice that. But you can also just, you know, watch some of your favorite episodes and get a good laugh out of it. You don't have to watch the story all in full. You can watch them out of order and just watch whatever episodes are your favorite. I personally would recommend you watching in the story just so you get that storyline experience, but you can watch it either way and have just an amazing time with it. Another thing that I just really want to mention here about The Office is Michael Scott here. Michael Scott is a top-tier TV character. I think most people would agree he's the best character on the show. Steve Carell does a fantastic job as Michael Scott. You know, this kind of crazy, outlandish manager, man. Someone who you could kind of relate with and experience something like that in real life. Maybe not as crazy and outlandish, but just his antics, you know. And we get to see the transition and change of Michael over time, how he somewhat matures, but he's still a kid at heart, and you learn too how he cares so much for the people in the office, and just makes him such a great character. He has a lot of great character development, and, you know, like I said, in the later seasons, he really moves along and progresses very, very nicely. This show also has amazing acting, whether that's from Steve Carell, John Krasinski, Rainn Wilson, Jenna Fischer, or any other of the main Office members. Seems like every one of them hits a home run here. And another thing that I want to mention here, just about the great acting, is this might be one of the best set of characters or cast of characters ever put to TV. All these characters are unique and have their own little thing about them. You know, Michael, like I said, is the outlandish manager. You have Jim, who's the grounded salesperson. Dwight here, who's like the farmer. You have Pam here, who's receptionist here. And you have Kevin here, who's like this idiot who some people say is a genius. You have Oscar, who's like the really smart one. Angela's like the Catwoman. I could go on and on and on. Each person has like their own unique abilities and their own unique strengths and weaknesses. You know, it's not like everyone's the same. Everyone's different and it's so diverse in that way. And that brings me to Diversity Day here. You know, that was a great episode here. And Roy shows just how diverse the cast is and how well they play off of each other. I think it's one of the best set of characters and casts ever put together here. And I also want to mention here how I already mentioned the characters are just so great and how there's also a really good story with this show. I think that the seasons of 2 through 5 are some of the best peak TV out there. Those have some of the best episodes out there of The Office, and it's a really strong peak for the show. And that you know, set of episodes, we get to see, you know, the progression of Jim and Pam becoming a couple here. We get the introduction of the other branch here with the merger here with, you know, Jim goes out to Connecticut on Stanford and then comes back. And we get to see new characters like Andy Bernard here. We get to see the struggle of Dwight and Angela here. We get to see Michael progressing as a manager here. You know, how he, you know, sort of matures each and every season. While again, like I said, still being a kid at heart. We get to see more of the warehouse people. Daryl becomes more involved in these seasons. You know, just some of the best episodes take place during that stretch of time. I think it was when the show was at its golden years, and the stories were really hitting, the comedy was at its peak, and the characters were just interacting so well here with one another, and each and every episode was a solid one. I think that that was just a amazing stretch of episodes here. I already kind of went in a little bit on Jim and Pam, but I just really like a lot of the relationships on this show, especially Jim and Pam and Michael and Holly. I already mentioned about Michael, his growth here, and what really solidifies his growth is him getting with Holly here. You know, we see Michael in the earlier seasons with his struggles with Jan here mainly, but he also has a few other girlfriends, and we finally meet the perfect girl for Michael Scott here, and Holly here, who replaces Toby in HR. We know that Michael and Toby, of course, hate each other. Toby not so as much, but Michael just hates Toby. You know, that's a really big running joke as well in the show, that Michael really hates Toby. Always gets a really great laugh, and then when Howie comes in, it's really funny how he's able to get with the person who takes over Toby's position here. And I just think they have amazing chemistry here. One of the stronger aspects of the later seasons, before Michael left, which we'll get into in like season 6 and 7 here. Michael and Howie are just so great together. And Jim and Pam, like I said, especially in the earlier parts of the show, we get to see, you know, the conflict of Jim trying to somewhat tell his feelings to Pam, but Roy's in the way. And then Jim and Karen end up getting together. Karen, of course, played by Rashida Jones, was with the Stanford branch, and she merges over. And then Pam starts getting feelings for Jim. It's kind of a whole back and forth situation, but in the end, in season 3 here, they ultimately end up finally getting together here, and their relationship pretty much progresses on. There's a little bit of bumps in the road here and there, which I will talk about, especially for season 9, but for the most part, their relationship was one of the foundations and one of the core things that held the show together, and really the heart and soul of the show. I think everyone can agree as well that The Office has a really great setting here, and it really feels like these people are actually genuine. Like, you know how I mentioned how they're really unique characters, but these people, you know, it seems like someone who you would know off the streets, like just being in an office setting. It's not something that is, you know, too crazy or outlandish, you know, being in that office setting. A lot of people have experience in the office, and I've heard people talk about how this is kind of like how an office is ran, you know, maybe not to the extent of The Office here, but with the similar problems here where, you know, people aren't doing their work or people get stuck in situations. There's workplace drama here. I think that The Office tackles all those situations really well, makes it feel authentic, and makes people who work in an office and people who don't really connect with the show. So that's one thing that I just really like about The Office here. And lastly here, for like just the praise here that I'm giving for The Office, I have so much here. But the one thing that I want to mention here, lastly, is going to be the amazing finale here. With its rocky sort of last couple seasons here, I wasn't sure how they were going to do the finale here, but they ended up doing it really well. They do a really nice closeout here, and, you know, we get to see the transition of Jim going into his new business here, and we get to see Michael back in the finale. Of course, Michael left at the end of, or in the almost at the end of season 7 here, and we get to see him coming back. We get to see Dwight and Angela's wedding here, and it's just a really nice send off for The Office. I love Pam's final lines of The Office and the final picture that she painted for Dunder Mifflin here. It's really great. The Creed storyline's hilarious as well. Creed going to jail in the finale, and them all just sitting around the office and reminiscing about the good times that they had. It's just a really strong finale, one of the most heartwarming finales of all time. But here, with the positives of The Office and it being so good and really peak TV, there's also some negatives here that I want to address for the series that I think that they could have improved upon or done better. One thing that I really didn't like was the final 2 seasons. I think that they were really weak. The writing was a lot weaker and the jokes weren't hitting as good. Easily the biggest departure of the show, Michael Scott here, really hurt the show, especially when they needed it the most as they were moving into the end of the show here. And they brought in a couple new characters, especially Robert and Nellie. I didn't care for them at all. They were really weird and wacky and didn't really bring anything memorable to the show. Like I said, the characters being weird and wacky, I had no problem with when they were memorable and likable, but those two, just for me, didn't have any redeeming qualities at all and really hindered parts of the final seasons. And you can really see with the departure of Michael here how the cast and the situations that they get in just aren't as great and aren't as funny, and just a lot weaker here for the show. I also talked about how Jim and Pam are like the heart and soul of the show, and in season 9 they have a little bit of a rocky relationship. They almost break up, and we see Pam and the camera guy sort of kind of getting into a thing, and Jim kind of treating her like crap, and it's just so out of character at that point. You know, they really make a great amends at the end of the series, which really saves the season 9 arc here. But for the most part, I think a lot of people would agree they were not a fan of that. And another season here, I know I talked about the later seasons, but season 1 was also one that was a little bit tough on the show. It was one that they were really trying to find their footing and their grounding here. The first episode is a complete rehash of the UK version, and then there's some good memorable episodes. My 2 favorites of the first season being Diversity Day and Basketball here. But for the most part, season 1 is not the greatest. It took a little bit to get their foot on the pedal here, but once they did with season 2, I think it really shined high. But yeah, those were just some of the negatives that I wanted to go into, because you know The Office was never perfect, because it has its issues, but for the most part, I absolutely enjoyed it. It's one of the most recognizable and one of the most laugh out loud, funny TV shows that I've seen. It's definitely one that you're going to need to give a big chance to, because season 1, I watched it and I didn't feel it. I just couldn't get into it, but my friend was like, just stick with it, just stick with it, just stick with it. And once you hit season 2, if you can get past season 1 and into season 2, I really think that you will enjoy it. So yeah, here, let's get into the closing thoughts. Like I said, The Office, I think, is just a really great show, one of the most recognized shows. Can't go wrong with the humor. You know, it's a lot of cringe humor, but trust me, it's not too bad here. There's a lot of great jokes in the show. It's also really endlessly rewatchable. A lot of people, including myself, agree that it is one of the most rewatchable shows of all time here. So yeah, let's get into the rating here for The Office here. And for me, I'm going to put The Office here in Elite tier. This was one that is super close to the GOAT tier. It's definitely closer to the GOAT tier than the Great tier. In Elite tier here, this is an elite comedy, one of my favorites of all time. Definitely recommend you watch it if you have not seen any of it yet. And for all you diehard Office fans, let me know down in the comments below your favorite moment of The Office. I would love to hear what that is. So yeah, that's going to do it here for The Office TV series review. We will be coming out with more here on the channel with some of your favorite shows. Definitely leave suggestions down below as well if you want to see anything, and be sure to look out for the community posts on my channel each and every week here, which will allow you guys to have your voice heard and give you guys a chance to vote on what show I review next. So yeah, that's going to do it here. Take care, everyone, and peace out.